Hello.
Hello.
How's gaming?
Doing great. But there is one problem.
Oh no.
Well, I recently entered a call with a person who thinks that Israeli blood must be preserved through the ethnic or something to this effect, through the ethnic exclusion of Palestinian people. I'm honestly shaking and crying and shitting right now. So what happened?
Oh my god. I don't know which clip. I forget which clip you saw because there were like 3 or 2 that were circling. And I'm trying to remember like the details of what I said in that clip. But anyways, if someone watched the whole stream, the purpose of what I was trying to express was like I was talking about my perspective on Israel's perspective, right? So it was like, okay, Israel cares about demographics, right? I wasn't like saying that it was a good thing that it cares about demographics.
Mm-hmm.
So I was making like a descriptive claim, right? And they seemed to think that it was a prescriptive claim, that I was saying that so it's a good thing that Israel cares about demographics, or it's something that I personally care about. And that when it was like very clear that I was demonstrating how Israel cares about demographics, and so because of that, there are some things that are not feasible within the peace negotiation process. And so like, but here are some solutions that are feasible. And so like that's kind of like what I was talking about. But because I was making they seem to just misunderstand that, like, if you just like saw that section where I was kind of talking, because like the way I speak and the way I'm often communicating like perspectives when I'm like teaching people about history or something, I'll be kind of like giving their perspective in that moment, right? And so like that got clipped completely out of context. And yeah, and that's why like if you watch like the video, even just if you watch the 10 minutes around it, it's very clear what I'm talking about. So
yeah, I've learned that lesson the hard way myself a few times. Let me talk about this horrible thing another group of people believe from their voice.
Yeah.
Because it would sound good, like rhetorically, for me to deliver it in that format. I've learned that lesson. You know, it's definitely an important one to learn, I think.
Yeah, and I do it so instinctively. Like even tonight, I was streaming and I did like an impression of Bad Empanada, like with the Australian accent, and I said some vile things that way, and I was like, "Fuck!" I just did it again. Like even though I was trying to make a point about how ridiculous the shit he says is.
Yeah.
But
Chat's suggestion is that whenever you're going to do that, you do it in a ridiculous accent. I have no idea what an Israeli accent sounds like, but for Bad
I can
Empanada...
so easily become racist, though, so I'm a little scared to do that.
Yeah, true, but at least it's more fun when you get caught.
That's true.
Yeah, anyway. Well, I'm sorry about the merciless clip chimping. I saw that... What's her name? Etrias? Apologized?
Yeah, it was really nice of her. A lot of respect to her for apologizing.
Yeah, which surprised me.
Yeah, I was like, wait, someone on Twitter apologized? Like, I don't know who she is or anything.
She's an insufferable, like, ultra-anarchist ideologue. You know, every time I see her on the TL, it's something like, you know, actually, yes, socialists would abolish time or something like that. You know, so I'm being facetious. I like her, but anyway, I was surprised by the apology. So you said that your videos have been degraded?
Yeah, on YouTube. Ever since he's been making videos about me like nonstop, and everyone told me to just ignore him. But
Which
the
one?
more
Bad
I ignored
Empanada?
him, yeah, and but like the more I ignored him, the more like a lot of people started to buy into his narrative because I was never responding. And he was just like, there were a lot of things that he was saying that were just completely untrue. I God knows, I probably say some of the dumbest shit sometimes, and I'm sure there's so many valid criticisms, but like his main criticisms about me were just things that were not true, like that I was white or that I'm like a criminal from apartheid South Africa, even though I wasn't alive during apartheid, like shit like that. That is now being spread and seems to be like this weird. Maybe it's just my mind that I pinpoint all the negative stuff, but yeah, it seems to be like a lot of people are believing the stuff that he's saying.
So you do deny the white allegation?
Yes, I am. I am not white, you know? So it's apparently a terrible thing to be white, and so I'm very grateful.
Have you considered calling him anti-Semitic?
Um, I like, I never, you never want to be that person. I don't
You
know.
might eventually, though. Eventually, you might want to be that person. I take great pleasure in calling pseudo-leftists anti-white. You know, eventually, it actually is the most fun option.
He did say, like, I was watching one of his videos saying he did say some like kind of JQ sussy stuff. And I like, and the fact that he just totally like discounts. He also like every time he gives me an analogy to demonstrate how evil I am, it always involves like the Holocaust, which feels like, which feels pretty gross.
Feels like he supports the Holocaust.
I'm sure he would say he doesn't, but the fact that every analogy is always like the Holocaust, and he knows that I'm Jewish, he knows that my grandparents are survivors, like it just feels like he's particularly trying to use my history and my oppression against me. And it's just really mean because I never came after him. I didn't hate the guy. Like, I don't know like where this came from. He just suddenly started being really aggressive in my chat. I was talking about just it started when I was talking about how I liked some aspects of Canada, and this was after going on stream after stream talking about the various genocides that have happened to Indigenous people in Canada. And so, like, I kind of wanted to give other perspectives since it was something that we were always talking about. I wanted to talk about like an immigrant's perspective on Canada and some of like the positives that Canada brings to the table. And he like assumed he just hops in, he hears that, and he just says that, oh, you're justifying, so I guess like the genocide of Indigenous people is okay because you get to live a happy life. And that's not what I was saying at all. And then yeah, he's hated me ever since.
He's like Kiwi Farms tier. I really wouldn't worry about it too much. As for the as for the as for the perception that like people are turning against you narrative wise or something like that, I think that it's important to remember this. Okay, this is like an object lesson in any like large or medium sized streamer. It's whenever you're having an argument with chat or you feel like people are really dogpiling you, and you feel like you see like a ton of hate in chat and you're thinking like, oh god, you know what you can do. What everyone does this eventually. You ban 3 people and all the hate in the chat is cut down by 80%. We don't actually register where the hate comes from. We just get kind of a vague understanding that we're being attacked from other people.
Yeah.
So if it's in this case, I mean, I don't know obviously, but I'd be willing to bet that it's probably not a representative sample of people's opinions towards you.
Yeah, and I think like I don't know, I already have some low self-esteem, so it's like very easy for me to my mind just naturally has a bias towards looking at like the negative comments. But I honestly I feel like I can handle a lot of the hateful comments. If people criticize my actual views, like I kind of welcome that stuff, even if they're really mean about it. It's the lies that I didn't, and I expected to get that stuff as a public figure. I was like prepared. What I wasn't, and I should have been prepared for this, but I just didn't expect people to be like lying so much, like that, like
Yep.
just making up stuff.
Also,
That kind of drives me crazy.
preparing for it intellectually is not the same as actually dealing with it, right? You know?
Yep.
Because every time this happens to me, like I see super bad faith or dumb shit or whatever, I'm like, okay, well, I knew this would happen. But you can tell yourself that, but that's not really the same as like being emotionally prepared for the dumb shit every time. In reality, every time you do have that same internal like, oh my fucking god, I cannot believe that this is the world that we live in. That same reaction happens every time, I think, no matter what you do.
Have you like had any safety concerns and stuff because of the hate that you've gotten?
Not really. I guess like I guess with regards to like the conferences, like the Free or Future Fest or whatever, or if I went to like I know some like Dylan Burns went to the Jan 6 thing. I do have a feeling that if I ever went to one of those places, I would like be chilling, even behind a mask. You know, I'd be chilling, and then I'd hear like from a distance, "Is that fucking Vaush?" And I would just hear like really heavy footsteps, like getting louder and louder and close, and that would be the last thing I would ever hear or see. So so apart from that particular context, no. Most of the people who talk shit on the internet are like fucking emotionally deficient people who act out online because it's the closest they can get to simulating what it might feel like to have power in all the other situations where they're
But
getting
they've never
dogged
like
on.
doxed your family or anything.
No, no, I mean, nothing that I didn't just provide on stream or anything like that.
I'm like super paranoid about that shit. So I had like a talk.
You're a VTuber. You've already gone to much greater lengths.
Well, that's the main reason why I'm a VTuber. And God knows, especially now with the race discussion, like, I don't know why it really bothers me, and it shouldn't bother me, but it really bothers me when people call me white. Like, I don't know, like, maybe I've eaten too much of like the lefty Twitter garbage or something, but I really don't like being told that I look a different way than I look. So like, it's made me really tempted. I'm like, God, I just want to take down the VTuber and just go on cam. But yeah, that anxiety, that fear is still really prevalent.
Yeah, it might be. I mean, I guess people always assume the default being white, because white people are overrepresented in pretty much all online media. Not that that's, a fair assumption to make or anything. I think, if you wanted to win those arguments, you could, what do they do? Like, just taking a picture of your arm or something? Even that doesn't really work, though, because
but my skin's really light.
Yeah,
I just have very non-European features, like, as a lot of Asians do.
Yeah. You could always go like the abstract approach, where you take a picture of your face, you isolate all the facial features, deconstruct them, and then rearrange them and edit them in such a way that you convey the ethnicity without any identifiable features. Or you could call them white if you wanted to. Like,
I should just start doing that. It's easy because then you don't need to form an argument.
Oh yeah, very much so. And you could call Banapanada white. I think that works. I think. Wasn't he like Australian? Then he moved to Argentina.
Yeah,
literally
he's like a Greek Australian that moved to Argentina.
Imagine literally colonizing. Disgusting.
All non-problematic countries. He calls me like the evil white apartheid South Africa. It's just crazy, absolutely crazy.
Well, it's the future of intra-left discourse, if he could even be considered on the left with some of his bizarre behavior. Because as we know, being on the left is when you're cool, and he's just not very cool.
He's definitely not cool.
Well, apart from that bullshit, how have you been?
I'm like, honestly, it's a mixed bag. I kind of had a bit of a depression kind of come up. Like, I had some personal issues like over the end of the summer. So I've been trying to get back into streaming, back into it. And I've had like a lot of growth lately, so that's been really, really cool. But yeah, I don't know. This hate thing's like really got into me. Like, I didn't sleep for 2 days. Like, literally, and I'm literally mean like I was up for 48 hours.
Why? In response to like, the online harassment?
I've also, it's something I haven't talked about a lot on stream, but for a long time there's like this weird, I don't know what they are, but they're like this sexist MRA Turkish anti-Semitic fascist group.
That's a lot of things to be.
I know, it's a weird combination. That's how I always know it's them, because they have a very unique combination of insults. It involves me being a whore, me being Jewish, me not being willing to have sex with their brown skin, which is not true, and maybe not them, and a bunch of other things about being Jewish. It's very strange, and it's a weird combination, and like, they are just nonstop harassing, like just constant harassment. They're trying to dox me like really hard.
What did you do to exacerbate this? Or what led to the attention of this group being drawn?
I don't know. They've just like decided that they have like this idea in their head. Like, they keep sending me these messages about how like I don't want to have sex with brown men, which is, yeah, it's just very strange. And it's like, yeah, it's weird, like incel kind of stuff, but sprinkled with anti-Semitism and all of that. And they keep sending it. I wake up every morning to a new account because they keep banning them, but like a new account with like just tons of Holocaust imagery of, things like that. It's like very graphic.
You know, these guys sound really desperate for your attention. You could probably honeypot them with like 2 sentences, like, I've changed my mind. I will fuck you. Give me your credit card information, and I'll head over right away.
I should do that
from there. I'm just saying, man. They seem like they're really enthusiastic for your intention. It sounds like some incel shit, right? I always think it's really funny when non-white groups are racist, you know? Because, like, it's always like, where do you think that road leads, okay? You do not live in a globally Turkish supremacist world. You live in a globally white supremacist world, okay? If you open up that door, you're the loser in the end. Like, I just can't imagine, like, living in the world, you know? And being Turkish and thinking, yes, racism is a thing that I want more of. This will not backfire. What the fuck? What are you doing?
It's crazy. Apparently, it's a huge thing in Turkey. There's like a big fascist movement there.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Which is, yeah, I think a lot of countries that have like really huge empires in their past, they always have like these reactionary groups within them that want to reestablish the empire and, you know, I don't know, take all the Jewish women as slaves.
Yeah, Turkey has a really, really rabid fascist sort of surge within it. I know they hate the Greeks as well, and the Greeks also had a pretty big fascist surge recently, so maybe it's like, you know, an old school rivalry, like they're gearing up again. There's gonna be like the fucking Turkish-Greek war. They're gonna send like chariots and shit across the Mediterranean. How sick would that be?
I'm getting like, that's why, like, especially today, I woke up to like a billion Holocaust imagery, and then like all this hate on Twitter, and tons of my YouTube comments were just like every video was like, you know, you evil white South African, like escaping your crimes of apartheid, and like all of this shit. And I'm like, holy fuck, like I can't escape it. Like I'm getting hit by both sides, and it's not fun.
Don't worry, it's all the right. No, I understand. I don't mean to downplay it or to minimize it, because even, I mean, at my size, like, I get more hate in total, but I get much less hate, like, experientially, day to day. Because I have a large community that insulates me in a lot of ways, and also I can contextualize a lot of the stuff, you know, like, oh, they're mad, but if 1 million people watch your videos every day, like, invariably, some people are going to be upset. But it's really important to remember that this stuff, like, really only exists to the extent that you acknowledge it in a lot of ways. Not in all ways, but in a lot of ways. With regards to the harassment and stuff, one of the most important things that you learn is never name search as a content creator. Because
I do that all the time.
Yeah, the temptation is overwhelming. Because it's like being in a... People don't understand how hard it is. It's like being in a room, and you know that in the room directly next to you, there are people talking shit about you right there, and all you have to do is put your ear up against the door. In real life, the temptation is irresistible, because it's one room with maybe a few people, but online, it's infinite rooms with a lot of people, so if you go looking for hate, you're always going to find it. You just have to put away the urge, you know, and eventually it does fade. I muted my own name on Twitter, which is funny in a number of ways. I'm actually usually the last person to hear about people being mad at me for that reason. But on the plus side, I can just browse Twitter as God intended, like an idiot, you know? If people are mad at me, they can make it my business by emailing me. But outside of that, it doesn't affect me. So
my friends think I'm a narcissist because I keep searching my name everywhere. Like I search in every Discord, on Twitter, like I Google it. I'm doing all that shit, and it's just, and I won't stop until I find one hate comment. And then I don't know why.
Well,
it's like this weird impulse.
Narcissism. It's literally digital self-harm. That's the term for it, right? Because up to a point, it's useful. Knowing if there's drama about you can help you anticipate future challenges. But past a certain point, it just becomes an obsession. I think Contra talked about this a lot. I think it's something she touched on. But anyway, the hate that you've experienced really probably is something which could be at least a little bit mitigated if you took a different attitude towards it. That doesn't mean it's your fault or anything. It's just
no,
hate
please.
online is a
I
fact
want to
of the
steal all
world.
your tips. Like this is free therapy, so
yeah. Hold on, let me see.
I'm down for it.
Which of your videos got dogpiled? Would it be the I reviewed Vox's the Israel-Palestine conflict?
Yeah, that one was the biggest one, but they went onto all of them. I deleted tons of comments.
Gotcha.
It's like, I don't care. I'm just going to delete them.
Oh, okay. Well, then I probably wouldn't be able to see anything, but... yeah, it feels like, I'm trying to think. I'm very tired, so I'm trying to think if I can distill this advice down into something a little bit more pointed. I For a long time, I deluded myself into thinking that the name searching that I was doing of myself was part of some kind of defensive strategy.
That's how I convince myself. It's like my job.
Exactly. Like, yeah, you can, oh, if I know what people are saying, that I can defend against it, I can learn the arguments. 99% of the time, this is just not the case. Because the arguments you already know about, right? When you wake up and you see the hateful comments on YouTube or whatever DMs you're getting or whatever, you already basically know their contents, don't you? I mean, maybe not the specific phrasing, but the useful information is something you're already privy to. All you're really doing is repackaging it for yourself. It's information you already have. You might as well be rewatching a movie because you want to know what happens in it. Do it if it's fun, I guess, but you're not getting anything new, and it doesn't seem
Definitely
like you're
not
having
fun.
much fun for it.
Yeah, it's interesting that you brought that up because I actually thought I was like one of the only public figures that did that. I thought like everyone else was smart enough not to.
Oh no, people do it all the time. You can see examples of it even in massive public figures that really shouldn't be. J.K. Rowling name searched, for example.
Really?
Yeah, a ton of the like responses that she made, the way in which she handled herself. There were big posts about it that I don't really remember the details of, but it seemed really clear that she was literally name searching. She was looking at every time she would go trending, seeing the top threads and responding to them, implicitly, not directly, but in a sort of vague tweet kind of way. And she's a billionaire. I mean, she's immensely powerful, but she's also fucking miserable. So clearly her brilliant strategy is not working out to her favor. If I were you, I would learn to look away when possible and look past when necessary, When you delete YouTube comments, you're really only going to encourage them to double down. She's censoring, her South African apartheid crimes must be exposed, blah, 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 blah. But leaving them up is like the ultimate indicator that you genuinely don't care. At the moment, that's a lie, because you do care, but with time, you care less. You look past them when they're there, and if you don't need to look at your comments or whatever else, you just don't have to. There's nothing new for you there,
I guess like I always have this fear that someone is going to say something that's like legitimate and I'm going to like miss out on some good criticism.
Oh, fuck. Oh, that does not work. Trust me. You have to find people you trust and rely on them for your criticism because the wisdom of the crowds breaks down for online figures. It cannot work. We don't have a good metric for independently determining the legitimacy of criticisms that we receive. This is something that drama YouTubers exploit significantly. A big thing that they'll do when there's a content creator they don't like or they want to make a video dunking on or whatever is they'll drag this person for 2 hours and then they'll say like, oh, if they get mad at this video or don't respond to it.
It's just criticism.
Right, it's just criticism. That's on them. We're trying to help them. They're ignoring it. The problem with that is, apart from the fact that it's obviously just a way of justifying abuse after the fact, is that there's not really a mechanism for determining whether advice is legitimate outside of like it just being slurs or whatever. You can probably guess that one. You need to vet people or groups or institutions, but just searching out into the wilds will never do it for you. Just take it from me, okay? I've been criticized for a lot of stuff, and I've changed my mind on a lot of stuff too, Maybe not as much as people would like, but in exactly 0 cases have I ever had my mind changed by looking at people hating on me online. Literally none. In the dozens, maybe even hundreds of independent instances of me having drama blowbacks against me, many of which were large enough to literally go trending on Twitter, 0 times did I ever get anything from any of it. Usually I wait for an email. Somebody with more education than me will email me saying, hey, I take issue with this, that, or the other, and I'll either bring them on or I will ask them to give me some pointers. The last time this happened was with reparations, where a guy came on and explained to me how, like, reparations and fixing systemic racism are not necessarily the same thing and probably shouldn't be. And he, in one conversation, was able to do more for my position than the literal tens of thousands of comments dragging me from my positions had ever before. Sorry, I'm rambling hardcore, but like, yeah.
No, that's such a good idea to just ask people to email you because it's going to already cut down the number. And the only types of people who are going to do it are people who are going to at least have some kind of formal argument.
Yeah, and especially because if their intention really was to criticize you, they would care enough to email you, you know?
And do it privately too.
Yeah, exactly. This is it's the same with the drama YouTubers, you know. Real criticism is a form of communication which is measured in part by its ability to positively affect its recipient. Criticism is meaningless if it's just, like, thrown out in such a way that it almost guarantees rejection. If you're criticizing someone, your points can be perfectly valid, but if you're throwing abuse in with it, you're doing it in a way which lessens the chance of that advice being taken, which means it's bad criticism. If they really cared, a private email has very minimal outrage potential, but a lot of, you know, potential to positively affect change. That's the least drama bait way of handling the situation. If they can't do that, they probably don't actually care about your opinions improving.
Have you talked about this before, about like the issue, your criticism of drama YouTubers? Like, because I actually feel like that would make a great video on your part.
Yeah, well, a little bit, but maybe not this much. There was another video that I also really, really liked, which I guess I would recommend to you. Hold on. It was, is it the problem with drama YouTubers? Or something like that? Here it is. Everything wrong with the animation community critics. I've talked with this person on Twitter, Quinn Curio. They work for, I think, Daft Pina now, who is, funnily enough, a drama YouTuber, albeit maybe my favorite one. But the video is explaining how there's a very toxic trend on YouTube, but also broadly in social media, which is essentially people trying to posture abuse as criticism in a way that makes it impossible to actually meaningfully improve. This is also seen pretty often from fat-phobic people, right? I don't know if you've ever been fat or if people have ever thought you're fat or whatever, but one thing that's really common is people will shit-talk you for being fat, and if you ever lose weight...
And they act like they're gonna help you lose weight by shaming you for
exactly. They're like, look, I'm just trying to help you, you know? And if you do lose weight, they'll chalk it up to themselves. It was your hard work that actually did it, but they'll be like, well, you know, you claim not to like it, but you're skinny now, so whatever. It's really, 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 really common. And this is just a politicized version of that behavior, I think. So I would highly recommend that video. I found it very calming. Also, it's just a fun video.
Okay. That's actually, yeah, that would be really good. Honestly, this has been really nice chatting to you, and it's been really cool having you like as a mentor with this stuff, because there's no guide on how to handle this stuff properly, and it's really weird to... I don't think like humans were meant to receive this level of, you know, both positive affirmations and negative affirmations, and it kind of messes with your mind like a bit.
Oh no, 100%. Like, unironically, we are biologically not designed to be able to appropriately manage that, you know? We evolved basically in tribal communities, and everything past that is kind of abstracted, and it's difficult to get more abstract than, like, the numbers next to the video that I put out mean that people hit the button that means they don't like it, and the numbers in the 3-digit, like, we can't wrap our heads around it, you know, on a fundamental level. But I really do think that it's something that you can train yourself to overcome, at least to an extent, by mitigating the extent to which you come into contact with abusive behavior, not deluding yourself into thinking that it's useful critique in any way, and also, and this is important too, genuinely learning not to care. So, like, deleting comments and stuff, like, this is just a guess on my part, but I'd be willing to bet that sometime in the near future, people are going to use you deleting comments as an evidence towards your censorious inability to receive criticism. And when you see that, you're going to think two things at the same time. You're going to think, what a stupid point. I delete comments if I want to. And then you're also going to think, fuck, I kind of wish that I hadn't. Because whenever they make that criticism, by that point, you won't mind the comments' hypothetical existence under your channel. But their criticism gives them the ability to sting you again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I didn't want the comments there because I just didn't want people to get like the false impression of me. I didn't want like the lie like right there on my video.
That's not to say it was wrong to delete the comments or anything. Just a framework to take into perspective, I think.
I mean, trying to find, like, because I definitely need some therapists to talk to about various issues, but this issue in particular, like just learning how to be a public figure and stuff, And I've grown a lot, especially in the last 2 months. Like, and I'm incredibly grateful for that, but it's also had like this weird blowback to my mental health. And I just don't know like how it's such a weird, how do you describe like what we do? And I don't know like how I want to talk to like a therapist that's like in our community, or like understands it. Cause I just don't know how to describe being like this online niche Twitch celebrity person within like, I don't know how to describe it.
There's always Dr. K, isn't there?
Yeah, but I feel like maybe you can take that. I think I'm too small for
No,
him to know.
I'm teasing. It's not really good for therapy. It's more of like an audience exercise and learning from the problems other people have. I feel like a lot of therapists are going to be more understanding than you might expect. It's something that I've talked to, not with therapists. I don't go to therapy, but with psychiatrists, and they've generally seemed pretty understanding. It's a new, it's a new medium. It's a new industry. I don't imagine that they would understand. I don't think they're likely to understand fully, but I think there are some underlying commonalities between this and other more traditional types of stuff. Like, for its traditional celebrities have been their relationship with Theory has long been the subject of discussion. But you should at least give it a shot, right? In terms of, like, interpersonal shit, that's the most frustrating, because the average person is, at best, going to be, like, sympathetic to what you're going up against. But understanding is a whole other fucking issue, and a much more difficult one at that.
Yeah.
Have you tried to talk about that, like, with friends or whatever? You said that your friends have called you a narcissist. Like, I think that demonstrates a misreading of the type of work that you do.
Yeah, my friends think I'm a narcissist for sure. That's always like the joke that like all streamers are narcissists. I don't know how true, it's probably, I don't know, maybe there's a little truth that most streamers have a bit of narcissism in them. But I don't know. My group of friends is like very harsh in general. So sometimes it's hard to talk about this stuff. And I always feel, and if they do give me affirmations, I always think in the back of my head, well, of course they're just saying that because they're just trying to be nice, but that's not the truth.
There's a kind of truth in there, in the sense that I think to be a streamer you have to be, at the very least, you have to be of the opinion that the things you want to say are worth listening to. But I don't know if that's a kind of narcissism. I think people mistake that, So many people are so just, like, fundamentally unwilling to recognize confidence as a positive character trait that I think they lash out against it. You have to be at least a little bit confident to try and stream, right? Maybe not holistically, but in some kind of way, I think.
Oh, yeah. I used to suffer with social anxiety disorder. And, like, it used to be, like, super debilitating for me. And but I did some therapy, like, it was a long, long time ago. I learned some, like, CBT, not ball torture, but cognitive behavioral therapy.
Oh, okay. I was interested for a second. Thanks for yanking me out of it.
I know, that's why my chat, like, I don't know, they're, like, obsessed with that. But yeah, that helped me a lot. And it's crazy, like, my old therapist they would think it was so crazy that I can talk in front of, like, 1,000 people and be fine. So, like, while I'm streaming, I have, like, such confidence. Like, I don't know, like, I almost feel like you're on stage, like, the lights are on you, and you feel good. But then, like, it's the same thing when you're a musician. Like, I get off stage and then I see, like, Twitter and YouTube comments and stuff. And
no, I totally get that. There's a kind of invulnerability when you're streaming. The chat is, like, pouring in. People are supportive of you. Mostly people in chat will be, on average, pretty supportive towards you. You're you feel like you're on top of the world. It makes you, like, socially invincible. Even if a person shit talks you on another stream, even a larger stream, you have that rebuke. You're like, fuck you, and your people, your chat, they're watching you. But once you're off stream, that is all gone. In reality, though, that's not true. The feeling is gone, but whatever invulnerability you feel while streaming, the practical effect carries over whether or not you're actually streaming, Seriously, it does. Like, what is it, the concern? Somebody shit talks you and you don't immediately have a response. I saw you on Twitter the other night. You said basically that. It was, oh, I wish I could stream right now, or ooh, the temptation to stream right now is so strong.
Oh my god, I just wanted to press that live button so badly.
What kept you from doing it?
The feeling like I was too emotional, and I know that if I do something on stream, like if I say something really bad or any kind of mistake, it's on the internet forever. Like that was in my mind, and yeah, and it also just not being in the middle of the night. I just knew that it was better to wait and sleep on it and then talk the next day.
Well, I think that's a very smart impulse of yours. I have had not that impulse at times in the past, you know? No, seriously.
So what happened when you just suddenly turn on the stream?
Well, I had, it's known derisively in my community as the Thought Slime stream. I didn't just turn on the stream right then, but the feelings that I had carried over into the next day. I woke up and turned on the stream. And now a bunch of people think I'm a transphobe. So, you know, your instinct there was probably correct. I don't know how emotional you would have actually been, but at least it's something to watch out for. It's true, you can't erase that stuff. Though, with regards to how you must have felt, right? Like, you probably felt like, you know, I wish I could stream because without that, I'm just sort of impotent in the face of all these false accusations. But
there's also like, this is gonna sound so unhealthy, and it probably really is. But I also I kind of wanted the support of my community. Like I wanted to talk to my viewers.
Yeah, of course. There's nothing wrong with that. We go through a lot of unique stressors.
I think it's kind of like parasocial.
No. We experience a lot of unique stress as a product of the hate that we get being wildly disproportional compared to what humans are really meant to be able to tolerate. So it makes sense. It seems only fair that we would try to seek whatever benefits we could gain from the public persona. I feel the worst for people who have no platform to support them at all. The real victims of online bullying are the people who don't really have a platform. You know, like all those Gamergate era, like dog piles.
That's true.
Yeah, because they don't even have that. Like, they are as genuinely alone as you can be. And that's not fully true, because as much as I hate to do the cyberbullying take, sometimes even when you're in that position, just turning off your phone and looking away for a bit can be the best option. Not that that makes the bullying justified, just it's something worth keeping in mind. But with regards to, like, how you felt on Twitter the other night, you know? Not telling you how you should do something or how you should respond, but if you had tweeted out something like, let's say, hey, seeing a lot of inaccurate clips posted around, relaxing tonight, gonna stream tomorrow, we'll clear it all up, ! Or something. That's what I would tweet, at least. There's an anticipation there. It gives people in your community an understanding that you're not floundering. Because I saw some of your tweets, and they came off kind of like the tweets of someone who was guilty a little bit, you know? Because you wanted to... I'm guessing you didn't want to engage on Twitter, but you also kind of felt like you had to a little bit, just this one comment, you know, just this one tweet response, which invariably turns into 2 or 3 or 4. And then if you look at the overall impression that you've left, even if every individual tweet was justified, in context as a whole, it all gives the impression of a kind of unhinged meltdown. That's not you. You didn't come off like you were melting down. But, like, that's an experience that I think I've had before, where you try to address it, like, piecemeal. But having a solid, like, message out there is good. Also, I think, because it intimidates your enemies a little bit. It makes them have to prepare for you. It changes the dynamic. People who are shit-talking you online, there's nothing they love more than seeing that, no, this isn't true, no, whatever. But like a calm, yeah, this is incorrect, and I'll respond to it when I can. That always gets them. Because they have nothing to say in response. The most they can do is say you won't, you know?
Like, it's such a simple sentence. I don't know, it just never came up in my mind. I was like, wait, they're believing things that are just not true. I've got to correct them. Like, I've got to correct them. Like, and I just kept,
We're literally not designed to respond that way, because our brains are wired to manage this as though these were in-person interactions. And in in-person interactions, that doesn't really work as well, right? If a bunch of people are saying shit about you, and you're, like, right there, live, in person, next to these people, it's not as easy to say, like, okay, let's address this tomorrow. Like, you can do that, but it's not something we default to. So I think in a lot of ways with online drama, we're really fighting against the impulses that would serve us in interpersonal interactions, but hurt us a lot there.
Yeah, that's actually really true. Because like in personal interactions, I've learned to be very charitable to people who are upset with me or emotional with me and all that stuff. But I can't be that charitable with, random people online.
Yeah, no, and you shouldn't be, right? And they shouldn't expect that from you. I get emails all the time from people who have criticisms of me that I legitimately think are good faith, you know?
Mhm.
For at least 3 or 4 a day. It breaks my heart every time. Because my answer is always this, like, I'm not talking about this with you over email, okay? This is a business email. If I talked out at length about why I believe what I believe with every person who took issue with any position that I hold, I would never have time to stream. I would always be responding to emails. People just have to accept, I think, past a point that their shouting does blur into the crowd, no matter how sincere or well-intentioned it may be. And when you know that they don't deserve better than that, I think it'll put you a lot more at peace with your feelings towards the criticism that you receive. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, no, it does. Do you kind of look back? I don't know what it's like for you because now you've been established as a creator now, like for a few years. Like, do you have when you see kind of like brand new creators that are just suddenly blowing up or and created, like, do you often see them making similar mistakes that you made and then you cringe a little?
A little bit, but I don't really cringe because I feel like I'm the last person on earth who should be, like, mean or derisive towards a person for, like, handling drama poorly. Because I've had a few Joker moments myself, you know.
Yeah.
It does make me feel a little bit regretful though, because it's true that there isn't really like a playbook on how to handle this kind of stuff. I've actually thought about doing a video on this before, like, hey, take it from literally the most controversial left internet figure, basically. I mean, at least on YouTube.
Mhm.
Here's how I think you can handle this, or whatever. It's just I would be talking to a really small audience, you know? Of my audience, like what percentage of the people here are large enough content creators that they would
I
ever
will pay you
experience?
100 Canadian dollars to do this video. A lot
Well,
of money.
this would be half of it, wouldn't it? I mean, this right here. How long have you been doing this?
Since I started in March.
Of this year.
Yeah.
You've grown really quickly, you know?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm like really, really proud of that. It kind of shocked me. I thought I was gonna be really, really grateful if I hit like 75 viewers and got partner and then stayed there. I did not expect to get to the numbers that I've had like lately. So
It's pretty extraordinary, but I think well deserved, you know? I,
thank
I,
you.
I don't have time to check out everyone everywhere all the time, but whenever I see stuff from yours, it's always well-reasoned and thoughtful. And I think
That
it...
seriously means a lot coming from you. Like thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I mean, it's your work, so you shouldn't be thanking me. Uh, I think it also legitimizes VTubing a little bit, because, I mean, you know what den of scum and degeneracy VTubing is for the most part. So I think it's some good positive representation that
That's actually been the coolest thing. I mean,
like,
see so many people who have been so afraid. They wanted to be a content creator. They had a voice. They had things that they wanted to say, but they knew they couldn't show their face for whatever reason. From like maybe they're insecure about their appearance, maybe they're dealing with an eating disorder, or they're trans, or like there's so many like reasons.
are you saying that
And
trans people shouldn't show their faces in public?
oh my gosh. Oh
Uh, no.
now I'm clipped.
No,
Okay.
no, I totally get it. I actually discounted that when I first when I first thought of the value of VTubing. There's something a little bizarre and alienating about it.
Oh yeah, I don't blame you. I
In,
get that.
yeah, in a way, I think. But I feel like most of my issues with that have more to do with the parasocial, like, oh my god, my anime waifu is real, thing than it's more an issue with the culture surrounding it, I think, than the actual technology. But in terms of enforcing anonymity, you're actually right. I think that's actually pretty marvelous. The the ability that it has to allow that, you know.
Actually, a lot of people don't know this, but a lot of the VTube community is actually trans, um, and for them, like seeing their appearance can sometimes like trigger some dysphoria and stuff.
It
So
is not surprising to me that a
yeah.
bunch of people who represent themselves through anime avatars are trans. That's very much is in line with my priors there. But no, yeah, that totally tracks. I think it's cool, you know. I've always kind of wanted to. It's funny. I actually when they first started being a thing, the fuck the come on the VTubing,
Mhm.
the VTubing. I actually wanted to do it myself. There's actually I'm named Vaush after Valkanida, and Valkanida is the name of a character that I used to draw.
Oh,
Um,
that's cool. I
yeah,
didn't. You draw?
yeah, I draw from time to time. I
No,
drew
that's
an
cool.
NFT earlier this stream. Was the peak of my artistic talent.
Wait, you drew that?
Wait, what? Wait,
Like, is
what?
it what I saw on Twitter or?
Yes, I drew that with a mouse. Please don't judge me by that.
No,
Um,
I actually thought that was good.
well, thank you. I'm glad you feel that way.
I have no visual artistic talent, so
Uh,
like
I
I don't know if it's like praise from me means anything with that stuff
well,
because I'm impressed by most things, but I thought it was cool.
if that's the bedrock of your praise, then I feel like the stuff that I've actually drawn would be almost divine in its quality.
Yeah, yeah, I will. I'd love to see it. That's really
Oh,
cool.
here. Well, I'll send, I guess, since it's relative to what I'm talking about anyway. But what is it? My ambitions are, yeah, there we go. Anyway, I wanted to do a VTuber, but the thing is, the character's a black woman. The Valkanite character was. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't want the digital blackface drama shit or whatever the fuck else would arise as a product of
Yeah, that
yeah.
reminds me, one of the biggest criticisms I get is that my VTuber is quote unquote coded as white. Like that the avatar is coded as
It's a,
white.
it's an anime.
And I'm like, it's an anime. Like, you guys would be so upset if like a white person was playing an anime character in a movie. Like, they're usually Asian.
Also, they would
And
never fucking say that about an anime character being played by like an Asian woman on VTube, YouTube, or whatever. They would never dare to say that shit. Absolutely not.
it's also like, what
White.
what do they want me to do? Like, do I need to look? What do I need to do to look more Asian or Jewish? Like, and
Well, that's what I'm
to
saying.
my avatar.
They want you to have slanted eyes and a giant nose. They're racist.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
yeah.
clearly it's crazy. The shit that some people say that they think they're saying it for some kind of lefty reason, and I'm like, what's the consequence of that?
Yes, that's like here. Wait, hold on. I am very progressive. Now let me explain to you why we need to segregate the cartoon avatars of like. What the fuck are you talking about? I sent you some of the stuff, by the way. Since
Oh my god, that is so cool.
thank you. It's just I didn't want that NFT to be the thing that I was being judged by. But anyway, yeah, I think the VTubing. I think the VTubing thing is pretty cool, actually. Now, I guess now my brain has been opened to
I'm glad.
the wild potential.
I don't know how long I'll do it. I kind of told myself that eventually I do want to show my face and stop with the VTubing, or at least maybe sometimes show my face and go back to VTubing, kind of like Koniko does. But if I'm only gonna do it if I ever get like big enough, like maybe if I got to like your size and I could like afford like some kind of like security system, like a good fence or something like that, I might do it. But yeah,
Well,
for now, I'm a
if
little
it
too
makes
scared
you
to do it.
if it makes you feel any better, you can actually take a look at like the history of harassment of people who do live streaming or YouTube. Very often, these people's addresses is known. Hassan's house address is known. You know.
Dude, that is so scary to me.
Right,
Like, if
right.
I was him, I would be like shivering.
Conceptually, I mean, it's not like great, obviously, but like in reality, I think very rarely does anything come of it because there's such a huge gulf between every time I hear about any like real harm being done to a streamer, it's always it's usually people who are in with bad groups. This isn't always the case, but that seems to be like majority of the time the case. Whatever it may be, I don't think you're ever going to be in a position where you're getting like kill squad sent to you by Turkish fascists. So
Didn't Amaranth have her house lit on fire?
did that happen?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, I could be totally full of shit. Here, just keep VTubing, okay? Never stop. Never stop VTubing. Keep it up, okay?
I always remember all the really bad stories. Like, I think something happened at XQC too, but I
All
don't know.
the
But at least like
huge
with,
streamers, right? I mean, Hassan, XQC, Amaranth, like these are like the
Yeah,
top of the
massive
top.
streamers.
Yeah. Um,
But still, at least they can afford like a good security system. They probably like I don't know. Have you ever? I mean, you live in California, so you've probably seen like the way a lot of. I actually, you know what? I don't even know if California houses are like this. But in where I live, like in Canada, when there's a celebrity house, there's usually, you usually only see like forest. There's like forest in the entranceway, and there's like this long road. They have like their own road that leads up to their house,
yeah.
and they've got like an electrical fence and like a security system in the front.
For
It's
the
like a whole
very
thing.
wealthy, yeah, they tend to be, they have an estate basically that they can sort of, they can
No,
live through
I'm not
a
gonna stop until
commune.
I can afford that shit. That sounds like the best.
Good fucking luck. No, hey, live your dreams, you know. The I think what a lot of streamers do to avoid that issue is they tend to be in nicer apartment blocks. The nice apartment high rises, the ones that have a lobby that you have to go through to get to the
Hmm.
apartment, means that there's a guard, one or two of them usually in the lobby. Um, that anybody would have to go to. And even if your address is known, like that's just your like post box, not necessarily the physical door they would have to get to. So I think a lot of streamers live in places like that. They tell the door, they tell the apartment complex like, hey, I never want any guests unannounced ever under any circumstances. Never let a person up here unless I've vetted them ever, and do not tell people where I live. And also, here's the rent. And I think that like handles it like 99% of the time.
So you've never been like, you never had someone show up at your house or attack like a significant other or
No,
something like
no,
that?
no, I haven't.
Wow.
It's definitely something to be concerned about. Like it's a potential. It's not an
Yes, I thought this
impossibility.
was so common. Like it was um, to you like every week.
Um, I no, I mean I joke about how if I go to like a right leaning protest, I'll be dogpiled by them every week. But no, in terms of like actually that shit, no, that's it's not an every week, month, year, or any other denomination of time thing. But ultimately, like what matters most is your sense of stability, your feeling of safety, you know? Because like the real harm done there, I think, is in the paranoia
Hmm.
or the anxiety. They don't actually ever have to reach you to hurt you. If you think you're going to be hurt, the stress is something that can also negatively affect you. So if you decide to just stick VTubing, um, I don't think anyone would besmirch you for that.
You know, the one thing that makes me really not want to be too is I really want to go to like conferences. Like, you know, all those, the, what was that, Better Discourse conference that happened? Like, I didn't go
Yes.
to that for various reasons. Like, I probably wouldn't have gone even if I did show my face because of the COVID issue. I think you were talking about that earlier. And no one was wearing masks or anything there, which I found as a Canadian was just like foreign to me. But I would just love to like meet other streamers and go to like TwitchCon and stuff. I guess I could wear a mask, but
You could always do what Disguised Toast did.
what
Do
did
you
he do?
the Hearthstone streamer?
Yeah, no, I don't know him.
Oh well, he would actually show up in person to. This is before he revealed his face, but back before he did so, he would actually show up in person wearing like a toast icon over his face.
I could wear like my anime face on my face.
Exactly, yeah, just simply tattoo the anime face onto your real face.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, so you have a permanent
No,
disguise.
then I can never fully be doxxed.
No, I get what you mean. It's always a trade-off thing. Just keep in mind that it is a non-reversible decision. You know,
Hmm.
if you decide to go, very few people I think have had what you have, which is the ability to like conscientiously reflect after having a community on whether or not you want to make your face public. For
Yep,
most
that's
people,
true.
yeah, for most people that's not, you know, like VTubing's only been a thing for like a year and a half. So,
Hmm.
um, it's just
Well, yeah, I
something
actually when I first
to be
started
careful with.
CC, I shared my face lots of times. Like whenever I met someone, whenever I got to know people, like and we all traded pics, like and I learned quickly, like as CC grew, that there were huge consequences to that. So
See, wait,
yeah,
CC?
that's that. Sorry, Calliope Club.
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah, 100%. Very much an uncorked, very much an uncorked bottle on that one. No, it's I can understand why a person would choose to remain in any position. It's difficult to get an audience without showing your face. VTubing helps a little bit, but you really have done a remarkable job exceeding what I think anyone would expect from that format, you know? Especially since politics is usually, well, it's taken a little more seriously than, like, video game React content, which is where VTubing tends to be. So to have, like, a legitimate, serious audience on a subject like that while VTubing opens up the field a bit, and I, honest to God, think it's pretty cool.
Yay! That's actually, thank you. Seriously, that means a lot. Honestly.
Nothing. With regards to the drama, do you plan on how do you plan on moving forward with that? Are you going to do like a big response video? Is there like a big
I did a stream today about it. And might briefly touch on it again on Friday when I stream. But and then I'm gonna release a YouTube video from it. I think that's it. I don't know what your perspective on what I should do is.
Oh no, I think that's fair. I think it really depends on the situation, you know. For me, it's this might differ a little bit between you and I because you aren't the monstrous drama hog that I seem to have become. Thankfully, it's a very good thing. But what I've noticed is that in my position, over-engagement with drama from people who are acting in bad faith is usually not in my best interest because they don't actually care about the salience of their arguments, and neither do their audiences. So when you have content creators who are constantly going after you over and over and over again, with dog shit takes, or like they're just desperate for your attention or whatever, when you play into it too much, you run the risk of making their obsession towards you more monetizable than it already is. So this is what it's essentially like the content.
That was what kept me from responding for so long because he's like shadow banned on YouTube and he's a very small creator, and I was like, why am I I shouldn't give this attention.
Yeah, but there can be value to a bit of attention, you know. I think that it's really just a balancing act in figuring out what, like, it's kind of like a tipping point where eventually they'll benefit more from your response than you will. I don't think you're at that point right now. I'm not saying that you shouldn't respond or anything. I'm just saying that eventually the math weighs in their favor the more engagement you have, because I've noticed this. There are people who are perfectly comfortable making it their life's work to destroy you, you know? They will literally, like, wake up and, like, dedicate significant portions of their life to make yours worse. But you probably, I'm guessing this, you don't feel that way about anybody. There is, there is no content creator who you care about enough to even think of behaving in that way. And I feel the same way. I simply do not care. So it's about finding that balance and not overcommitting, especially because it's actually kind of like a game of chicken, really. If you bait them into overcommitting, into criticizing you while not responding that much, you can be in this wonderful Goldilocks zone where you come off looking good because you responded just enough and destroyed their arguments, but they look obsessive with their constant responses towards you, and it just plays out in your favor, like, holistically.
Yeah, I'm taking notes. Stay in the Goldilocks zone. This is golden stuff. Like,
you get what I mean, though, right? I'm not, like, rambling.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, I do. I think that's exactly what I'm trying to do right now. I don't know if I'm succeeding because it's like the first time I've dealt with something this way. But that's why my friends told me I just needed to ignore him completely. But I really didn't like it spreading, especially, like, I started seeing some streamers, like, you know, agreeing with it and stuff, and it felt like it was going out of his sphere, and that really annoyed me. Yeah. So that's why, like, I probably won't talk about it after today's stream and the YouTube video.
I apologize for posting the sussy imposter Amogus in response to...
It's okay, I just destroyed my entire self-confidence, you know.
I didn't The meaning was deliberately ambiguous. I did not mean. Well, wait. How did you interpret that?
My interpretation was like, oh no, like Vaush liked me, and now he thinks I might be a Nazi.
Oh, okay. I'm really sorry. I did not mean to do that.
No, it's okay. I'm just like, I'm super oversensitive, especially like with the social anxiety thing. Like, I think I messaged you once also. I was like anxious that you hated me or something because of something another streamer said to me. I don't know if you remember. I messaged you on Twitter.
I do remember that, yes.
Yeah, so sometimes like I just build up an idea in my brain, and then I just need like a second of affirmation and I'm good.
I get that. I mean, in a way, I do something similar to that. I'm really quick to write off people who I feel like might dislike me based on minor interactions. Because so many people dislike me that it's a kind of it's like a preemptive measure on my part, you know, like I don't have to feel bad about this at all if I just write them off beforehand. I've done that to a ton of people. You know, like chat even makes fun of me for it. Where I'll say like, "Oh, I like this person. They probably wouldn't like me," or "I'm pretty sure this person doesn't like me." But
it's like self-preservation technique.
Exactly. You preemptively distance yourself from the perceived and actual emotional consequences of a person disliking you. And in doing so, you make it more difficult to sincerely be upset if it turns out they actually do dislike you. It's essentially a defense mechanism. It's not always like the worst thing to do. Like, you can do it in a way that's not super bad.
It's really useful as a public figure.
It can be useful.
But
oftentimes
also unhealthy
it's
in
bad.
some areas.
Yeah, it is often bad. It's kind of self-sabotage almost, isn't it?
Yeah, because you probably miss out on some really cool connections and good friends that you can meet.
Yeah, it makes you look cloying as well a little bit. At least it would at my size. Maybe not so much at your size, but at my size, the saying like, "Ooh, I like this person. They probably wouldn't like me," is essentially a call out. I always forget that when I say it, but when you have, you know, if 8,000 people are watching a stream and you're like, "Ooh, well, I like this person's videos, but they probably wouldn't like me." That's not just me idly talking. It's more like people are in chat are going to be like, "Oh my god, what'd they do?" And they're going to go into that person's chat and say, "Hey, what the fuck did you do to Vaush? What do you think about Vaush?" And then they're going to see the clip of me saying it.
Then it starts the whole thing.
Exactly. But I never mean that. I always just idly say, I don't think about the consequences, which is like a one sentence summary of 90% of the drama that I have fallen to.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like learning how to manage the power you have with your community, and knowing how to like do that in a responsible way. I learned this kind of like the hard way, where I once, someone linked like a clip of Bad Bunny saying something dumb about Hamas. So like I made fun of the opinion, and then I said that it was a really dumb opinion. I said, like, I don't know, I just like shit talked it, right? And I was a new creator, so I didn't like say the thing that you're supposed to say, which is like, don't go harass her, don't go do this, like, don't go do that. And then suddenly I'm seeing her tweet that she's getting like harassment and degraded and stuff. And I was like, holy shit.
Like, to be fair, she says that pretty often about a lot of things and a lot of people. Not necessarily
I have no clue if it was true,
though.
But I felt terrible that, I felt really bad that my community could go do that. So I've like learned my lesson that anything you see on stream like can have these huge consequences to it.
Yeah, it's definitely a lesson that can be difficult to remember. I do want to say though, this is my real, true, honest, direct advice that I took a long time to learn. Never trust anyone saying that your community is harassing them until you see proof. Ever. Because in spite of my community's size, I have still, to this day, been provided exactly zero proof of any person, no matter how I treated them, receiving abuse as a product of my community. Now, sometimes my community will, like, respond to their tweets and be mean, but that isn't, I don't consider that, like, abuse. You know, it has to be, like actual abuse, like, targeted personal attacks out of proportion with the thing that they're being criticized for. And I have literally never received any evidence of it. I'm sure it's happened. But
are you saying that content creators would lie?
Yeah, lie to make them look like victims for clout? Yeah, I don't know. It's happened so many times, and it's so fucking frustrating, you know? I remember one time, like, for instance, Professor Flowers. I don't know if you know any of the drama surrounding that, but
Yeah, I
Professor...
know a little.
It's a good meme. She talked at length about my community, like, harassing her, and her example
Mhm.
for 2 videos straight was 2 YouTube comments that criticized her underneath the first video that she had made. I don't even remember them being abusive. It was 2 YouTube comments that were like, Vaush is right and you're wrong. And that was like the bedrock for a broader claim. And since then, she's gone on Twitter saying that, like, she's had suicidal ideation, like, this reminds her of, like...
Oh my god.
And, like, look, I get that online is rough, and I understand taking responsibility for your audience, but holy fuck, keep the rein in the proportion, and don't, like, weaponize that shit to attack people. Like, holy shit. It's really, like, fucked up, I think, to default to claims like that, but a lot of people do that shit, so you have to be on your toes.
I think I'm just super naive. I take people way too much at face value, because like I really thought for a long time what's kept me from coming after people, or I shouldn't say that, but like responding to people or going harder on people than I really want to, is like this anxiety that I'm gonna cause them huge problems, especially if they're a smaller streamer. Um, so I've always like been aware of that, because like the people always say like, oh, like she has this much bigger platform than me, and then she sent her community to come like attack me. And so I just feel like I have to be silent whenever I get, I don't know, like hate from smaller streamers. It's very frustrating.
Just say like, hey, I'm sorry to hear that. Please send me any screenshots of people being hateful towards you, and I will deal with it within my community. That's what I've said dozens of times, and I've yet to get anything from it.
Really? You've never been sent one screenshot?
I've been sent screenshots, but... Okay, actually, I've been sent screenshots a few times. Usually it's like criticism or people being mean. When I think of abuse, like... So first of all, like, maybe I just have a higher standard for this, and I'm kind of, like, moving the goalposts a little bit. But when I think of abuse, I don't think of somebody, like, responding to a tweet saying, like, hey, this shit you did was dumb, or whatever. When I think of abuse, I think of, like, a vicious personal attack, which is, 1, disproportionate, and 2, is not really related to or meaningful with relation to whatever it is you're mad at them about. So for example, especially if you're stirring shit up too. So if people are tweeting like, hey, Vaush, piece of shit, fuck Vaush, and then people are responding like, fuck you. I've gotten screenshots like that. Like, hey, look at this.
Yeah, that's why the disproportionate thing is major.
Yeah, 100%, because otherwise they could, oh my god, we are not prepared for hell mode. Yeah, it's essential, because otherwise they could just label, like, any mean behavior as abuse. But one time I actually had this really protracted back and forth between people in my community who were acting as, like, messengers to relay info from another community, saying that... And it was like this constant back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I don't even remember the details or what it was I was being accused of necessarily, but nothing actually ended up coming of it. So, it's just something you have to harden your heart to a little bit, you know?
Yeah, I think like you do have to develop armor. I remember, you know what's interesting? I remember us talking about this during my interview with you, like back in, what was it, April or March?
Mm-hmm. We should talk more often than that, by the way.
You said that like right-wingers are not wrong about everything, right? And like one of those is like developing a kind of armor.
Yeah. I think there is value in being hardy. What would you say? Resilient, strong, strength, whatever you want to go with. I think a lot of lefties take it too far. They go from the good position, which is we should defend weakness, to we should celebrate weakness. And I think those are really... That's
a good way to put it.
Yeah, really, really different things. Oh, yeah, sorry. Okay. I have been wisely informed by my counsel that I'm 2 hours over the expected stream time.
Okay, yeah, of course.
No, but first of all, we should talk more often than twice a year, I think. I do enjoy talking to you. Yeah, let me know. And additionally, there was one remaining point that I wanted to make. I have a really bad memory, so it's probably gonna fail me now. Give me time to think. Was there another thing that you had in mind, or like a thing that you remembered?
I kind of wanted to thank you. Like, you mentioned that I grew really quickly, but like a lot of that was due to like I had some really kind bigger creators that gave me attention when I was like tiny. And like I had like I don't know, I think I had 20 average viewers when you gave me that interview. And I like yeah, and that interview just completely shot me up. So in like the good way. um so like seriously, thank you for doing that cuz you I mean you got very little in return for it, right? Like I couldn't give you any kind of community or whatever. And so seriously, it was really cool of you to help a small creator. And honestly, this career's changed my life. Like, I was in such a bad financial situation before this, where I was like, literally, um, I was budgeting for just like one meal a day, and I could barely afford. I could definitely not afford 2 meals a day, and now I can,
Jesus.
and I have like money for the first time, and I don't even know how long. So
Where do
yeah,
you
I just wanted to honestly thank you, like, for helping me out back when I was that small.
I didn't even think of it that way. It was a good conversation, which I'm always looking for, you know. The size of the creator. Well, it's not incidental, but good conversations are valuable on their own. So thank you for being able to provide one.
Yeah. Oh, welcome. It was a fun interview. So.
Yeah, it was. I had a lot of fun with it, and I would encourage people in chat who haven't seen it to go check it out. I don't mean to be presumptuous, it's not my business, but
Sure.
you, at your viewership and size now, like, I assume this is your job now, correct? You don't have any
Yeah,
other...
it's my full-time job.
Okay, yeah, okay, cool. I remember when I was first getting started doing all of this, you know, I was, every, like, week I was checking, not every week, God, every day I was checking my analytics thinking, like, okay, we've made this much today, and if we make this much more tomorrow, that means this week's average will be this, and that means we'll be over the expected part-time
Yep.
minimum wage. Yeah, you did
That's
that
exactly
too?
what, yeah, because before this, I was doing, like, I was in school, and then I was also doing a TA. I was like a teacher's assistant, for my professor. And then I got let go of that because of COVID. And so then I had to be a research assistant, which was way less pay. And it was just, yeah. And the cost of living in Canada just like skyrocketed. Like in my city, the cost of rent went up by $1,000 in 1 year. So
Jesus
it's
Christ.
yeah, it was absolutely crazy. And
What are you...
we're just
You're in
removing rent
Canada.
control. Yeah, and there's no rent control here
Toronto and
in buildings.
Vancouver.
So yeah, it's just it was crazy. It was like so much shit happened at once, and I went from like being in like one of the worst financial situations in my life to the exact opposite. Like I'm certainly not like rich, but I feel very rich. Like being able to not have to like live paycheck to paycheck and be super anxious if I can like and like count every dollar at the grocery store. Like oh my god, that it
Oh,
makes you
yeah.
feel
When I
resourceful.
started to be able to buy food at the grocery store when it looked tasty and not when it was on sale, that was such a huge fucking difference.
Yeah,
Oh
it's
my
such a
god.
good feeling.
Yeah, I spent all of college. I know being like a poor college student is like the thing that you do. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, it was like $30 a week of groceries is what I would allot to myself. And I'd go to Winco, which is a cooperative, like, mega grocery mart here in the States. And
Hmm.
it would be like, all right, okay, here's 4 pounds of rice. Okay, let's go home. Like, just
Yep.
truly miserable stuff and bumming fucking grocery trip rides off friends. My God. In I don't know the tax situation in Canada. Does Canada fuck you guys for independent contractor work as well? Like, do you have to
Yeah.
pay? Oh, nice. Okay.
So, um, I'm like, I'm actually finally. I haven't even sorted shit out then in Canada because this all happened so quick that I wasn't. I need to figure out how to pay taxes and like the whole shebang. So I actually have a meeting with like an accountant on Tuesday,
Oh,
which
I was
makes
gonna
me sound so
recommend that.
fancy. Yeah. So I'm gonna talk to an accountant and get registered as like a business and like do the whole thing and find out how much my free healthcare really costs with the taxes. So,
That's awesome and great foresight. I still haven't done that. I've been encouraging other people to do that for well
wait,
over a
you
year
still
now.
haven't done that? How do you pay your taxes?
I just pay them as an independent contractor. See,
Oh, you
there's
can
kind
do
of a
that.
whiplash. What I'm about to say is horribly irresponsible. Chat, never
Okay.
listen, never ever take the spirit of my advice, okay? See, at first I was really concerned about an LLC because it would mean that I don't have to pay both halves of the FICA tax. Normally it's 7.5% flat up the first $100,000 that you make, and it's 15% if you're an independent contractor, if you're not being employed by someone else. But then I started making so much money that 15% of $100,000, well, that's only $15,000. I can put off seeing the accountant for a little longer. Now, please, please, please understand that there was a great deal of reasonable human being in between where you are now and wherever I was when I thought, oh, I can put this off. It's only $15,000 a year. So it can happen to you too, okay? It's a slow mental degeneration that threatens all successful content creators. Be careful.
I'll try.
Okay.
It's like, God, what a fun problem to have, though.
It's a very nice problem to have. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm honestly like so insanely grateful. But I'm not looking forward to the taxes. But that's what you got to do. And especially like I don't know, politically I'm like very pro government every program, and like and huge safety nets and shit. So I don't mind paying for it.
But personally, nobody fucking likes paying taxes, you know?
Yeah, but personally, it's not fun. Though,
Yeah.
apparently in California, you guys pay way more tax than we do in Canada, and you get very little in comparison.
Yeah, fuck California. But I'm in Washington, though. In Washington,
Oh, sorry. I don't know why I thought you were in California.
I used to be there. I was there when I started. Also,
Okay.
people say I'm a Beverly Hills leftist because I was born there. Yeah, in Washington, we actually don't have to pay a state tax. I think California has a progressive state tax, which for most people lands you at like 10% of your income goes to state tax, which is insane. Like, your federal tax doesn't decrease. That's the state tax. Congratulations, there's the extra. I know you can write it off with some stuff, but yeah, anyway.
Here we have like 30% tax for, I think if you earn 100,000 Canadian a year, or like 80,000 and up, which is middle class in Canada, then yeah, you pay around 30% of your income, like in total.
At the highest bracket, I assume, or is that like cumulatively?
No, that's the highest bracket is like 240, I think.
Gotcha.
240 and above. But
okay.
I think we only have like 3 billionaires. Like we don't really have many.
Slightly better social services than us too. So
yeah, we have a much larger middle class than you guys.
And no need to rub it in. Okay.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't defend Canada. That means that I'm okay with the
genocide. Yes, the genocides. We just talked about that, Eris.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say anything positive or,
Well, now it's all gonna fucking happen again. God, and I can see the South African apartheid happening all over again. Jesus.
Yep. That's exactly what I'm doing.
I really appreciate you coming on. Thanks for wandering into chat.
Yeah, and thanks for having me. Like, seriously, thank you. And have a good rest of your stream and all this stuff.
Yeah, I think we're going to dial it down. Take care, and hopefully we find an excuse to talk again in the near future.
I'm so down. My DMs are always open. So, and I would love to see more art, because honestly, you're really, really fucking talented. So.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. You take care, and I will take your compliment to heart.
Yeah, cool. Okay, see ya.